Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Vince Petla, aka Mr. Pro Shot. Welcome to the Pro View. Please like this video and please subscribe to my YouTube channel and please turn on the post notifications for more videos like this. So let's get right into it. So today's YouTube video is going to be me talking about the photographic basics that you need to know as a starting photographer, or even as a person who's just taking some photos on their phone, some of the things that you basically need to understand. I think it's going to be more geared to the photographer using a DSLR camera like this. This is a DSLR camera. So this is like, for instance, this is the Canon 700D, which I've done quite a bit of shooting with this camera. So, but currently the camera I use for taking pictures and doing everything is an EOS R, which I'm currently filming on right now. So let's get right into this video, okay? First thing you want to learn when it comes to photography is holding your camera the right way. You want to make sure that you hold your camera with two hands, and keep your camera as close to your body as possible when you're taking pictures. And you want to have your left hand underneath your lens here like this, that you're able to zoom in and out using your left hand. So you want to be able to access your zoom and your focus, your manual focus. If you are using manual focus, most of the time I prefer to use autofocus on my camera. So this is how you hold your camera. So left arm underneath your lens, right hand is holding your grip, and your finger, your right finger is going to be here on the shutter. Take the picture, and then you want to make sure that you put your hands into your body, close into your body, to make sure you're holding the camera stable, that there's no camera shake as you're taking pictures. And then you're going to bring the camera up to your eye, and then you see like this, your camera is as stable as possible. There's not that much shake in your camera. So you see again, I bring it up to my eye, and then I can take, and then I'm also able to zoom in and out from here as I hold the camera like this. So that's one of the first things you need to know. Make sure you hold the camera as close to your body as possible. And then, for instance, if you want to get a bit more stability, you can lean on a wall and also do the same thing. Make sure you bring the camera as close as possible to you. Otherwise, if there's no wall to lean on, just make sure to open your legs a bit wider to make yourself more stable, and also make sure the camera is as close to your body as possible. Okay, so one of the other things that you need to make sure is that you shoot RAW. RAW is like format like a JPEG, but unlike JPEG, it captures all image data recorded by the camera sensor rather than compressing it. When you shoot RAW, you will not only get a higher quality image, but you will also have more control in post-processing. So yeah, when you shoot RAW, you get the camera captures more information in the RAW format. So meaning the picture is not compressed, because when you shoot a JPEG, the picture is compressed, so meaning the picture comes out as a smaller file. Like for instance, JPEGs on my camera come out as a 5 megabytes, and then my RAW files from my camera my CR3s come out as 25 to 30 megabytes. So you see the difference between JPEG and RAW. And then again, with the JPEG and RAW, one of the other differences is that you would see that the JPEG looks a whole lot nicer than the CR3, because the JPEG already has the color and everything baked into it. Once it's compressed with all of the colors, so it looks nicer, cleaner at the moment. But the CR3 looks flat, because the reason it's flat is that it allows you to do a whole lot more adjustments to it, to change the color, brightness, contrast, and a whole lot of different things that you can do. There's a whole lot of different things you can do to a CR3 to make it nicer. Most of the pictures that I have on my personal Instagram, which is Mr. Pro Shot. You can go follow me on Instagram, Mr. Pro Shot. Most of my pictures are CR3s. Then I edit them, and then I export them as JPEGs that I'm going to be able to post onto Instagram. And then the next thing we're going to have a look at is the exposure triangle. So the exposure triangle is something that is very important that you guys need to have an understanding of as you're learning to become a photographer. So the exposure triangle consists of three things. It consists of ISO, it consists of aperture, and shutter speed. So ISO controls the camera sensitivity to light. So your ISO is what you use to control the amount of light sensitivity your lens has, not your lens, sorry, your sensor has. So the lower the ISO you're shooting on your camera, the lower the sensitivity on your sensor. So for instance, like if I'm shooting in broad daylight outside and the sun is fully out, I'm going to shoot at an ISO of 100. If your camera can go lower than 100, maybe you can shoot at 50. So you want to shoot at the lowest ISO possible if you're shooting in a place that has a lot of light. But as soon as you get into an environment where there is not that much light, you want to bump up your ISO. For instance, like when I'm shooting outside in the dark with a fast lens, I would shoot at maybe, let's say, ISO, what, 1200, yeah? 12,000 ISO. Okay, at least on my camera, 12,000 and 6,000 ISO is not going to be bad on my EOS R. On another camera like this 700D, once you start to go past, let me see what ISO does this camera have. Let's see, once you start to go past 6,400, the picture starts to become a bit, quite a bit noisy. So I wouldn't advise that on such cameras like these cameras, but your more high-end spec cameras are able to handle higher ISOs way better than your lower model cameras. So yeah, let's go towards aperture. Aperture is the opening in the lens that controls how much light gets through to the camera sensor as well as the depth of field. So your aperture is also another thing. It controls your depth of field and the amount of light that gets into your camera. So aperture is related to your lens, is what you call your f-stops. F-stops is what controls your aperture. Like for instance, one of my favorite lenses at the moment, what I would call my moneymaker lens, is a 85mm f1.8 lens. So meaning that has a very high aperture. So what we in photography, high apertures are your smaller numbers. So the smaller the number is, the higher the aperture is. So for instance, f1.8 is a very high aperture. I think you can go all the way up to f1.2. That is a very, very high aperture. And then your low apertures are like all the way down to f11, f11 and f22. Those are your very low apertures. So for instance, the reason why we'd use like an f1.2 or f1.8 lens, like especially an 85mm 1.8, is that you want to get that serious shallow depth of field to make sure that the background is out of focus, that only your subject is in focus. For instance, if I was to be shooting with an 85mm lens now at f1.8, and then I had a bit of distance between me and the camera, my background would be out of focus, especially if I was shooting outside with a background. The depth and the bokeh would be able to separate me from the background, that I'm just fully in focus and my background is out of focus. That's what your aperture does with depth of field. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna talk about is the shutter speed. Shutter speed controls how long shutter stays open and when it takes pictures. So your shutter speed controls how long it takes for your shutter to go up and down while taking pictures. So yeah, mostly personally I recommend to shoot nothing less than 1/200 shutter speed. There is a handheld rule that you should follow when taking pictures. Like for instance, when I went to do a photography course, it told me that when it comes to taking pictures handheld, even if you're using the best handheld technique possible, even if you have steady hands, the handheld rule always says never take any picture under the shutter speed of 1/60. Once you start to go under 1/60, you're going to get a whole lot of motion blur because of your hands shaking a bit. Especially for me, I wouldn't be able to actually anyways go anywhere close to 1/60 because I have quite a lot of handshake. So I always try to keep my shutter speed above 200 as much as possible. Sometimes I don't manage to do that because of the lighting situation, so I'll be shooting at 1/100, but ideally I like to keep my personal shutter speed at 1/200, especially when you're shooting with flash. You can't go over 1/200 sometimes unless you're using high what is this thing called, high speed sync, high speed sync for your flash. But with normal flash, ideally you wanna keep it nothing above 200 200 shutter speed. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is white balance. White balance can help you capture colors more accurately. Different types of lighting have different characteristics. If you don't adjust your white balance, the colors in your photography may take a slight blue or orange or green hue or temperature. Yeah, no, that's happened to me. Like, if you don't adjust your color temperature according to where you're shooting or according to the light that you're using, you are gonna get different colors in your camera. Like, for instance, where I work here at the church, like if I'm shooting on a Sunday and I'm shooting on our stage, I need to make sure that I adjust my color temperature to say that I'm shooting on a stage where the light is mostly tungsten. So I need to say, set my camera to tungsten. That is gonna reduce the the orange tinge that is gonna be coming out of that I'm gonna get in my pictures if I don't change the color temperature. For instance, when it comes to color temperature, we have this thing which we call, a term we use, like the color temperature is either warm or it's cold. So meaning when the color temperature is warm, it means the color temperature is a bit more orange. So the more orange your picture is, the more warmer your picture is. And if your picture is cold, the more cold your picture is, the more blue it is. So we have those two things. Warmer color is orange, colder color is blue. So if your picture looks blue, you must know that your picture is cold. And if your picture is orange, you must know it's warm. So for instance, if you go into a film set or you go take pictures and somebody says to you that your picture looks warm, you must know that they mean it's looking orange, has quite a bit of orange. And if they say it's looking cold, your picture, meaning it has quite a bit of blue. So those are the things that you need to know and understand when it comes to white balance. If you get the perfect white balance, your pictures should come out perfectly well. The colors should truly represent the colors that you are seeing with your natural eyes. The next thing we're going to talk about is perspectives. The best way to get a bit more creative with your photography is to experiment with perspectives. The exact same scene can often look very different when approached from a different angle. Capturing subjects from above, below changes the whole feel of the photo that you are taking. So for instance, like if I was taking a photo now of you guys, like for instance, I'm taking a picture of you guys, the camera. Let's see, do I have a card in here? Oh, unfortunately, I don't have a card in here, but let's just pretend I had a card in here and I was taking a picture of you guys. So currently, I'm taking a picture of you guys at the same level as that camera is at. So, but I can change the perspective of the shot by saying that I want to come from a lower angle and take a picture of that camera, or I want to come from a higher angle and change the perspective of the camera, or I want to come from a side angle and change the perspective of how I'm taking that camera and seeing the different environment. Like for instance, if I'm taking a picture from underneath, I know I'm going to see the camera and more of the roof of the place. If I'm going to take from a higher angle, I'm going to see the camera and the ground underneath the camera. I'm taking from the side, I know I'm going to see more of that side of the wall. So playing with perspectives helps you to get more creative shots, because sometimes just having this perspective sometimes is just boring. You need to be able to play with the perspective to see if you can get a better picture which tells a better story of the place you are at, the place that you are at. So perspectives are very important. You should not only try to take pictures from one perspective, but try multiple different perspectives as you're taking pictures to see what photos you'll be able to get, the angles, change angles, move around. That's why some people will say it's better probably to take pictures with a fixed focal lens, like a prime lens. It's better to take pictures with a prime lens. Like for instance, I was saying currently my money maker is a 85mm f1.8 lens. That lens helps you to be able to move around and get different angles and perspectives, because it doesn't zoom in and out. The zoom in and out is your legs, so you're able to move around. It doesn't make you lazy. That's saying I can just zoom in and out to get the different perspectives I want to get. You need to move yourself to get the different perspectives. So yeah, you need to be able to do that. So once you guys start shooting raw, having editing software like either Lightroom, Photoshop, or any other softwares that are out there for editing pictures will become very important, because your pictures are not going to look nice. Your CR3s are not going to look nice unless you have a software to edit your pictures in, and they are also not going to be usable in the CR3 format. So you need to be able to have a software that you can use to edit the pictures, that you can do simple tasks like cropping, adjusting exposure, adjusting your white balance, contrast, and removing blemishes. So like removing pimples from people's faces or removing things out of pictures that you don't want. So you need to have a simple software for editing. For instance, personally, currently I use Lightroom for editing all my pictures. So I mostly use like Lightroom Classic for editing my batch photos, like when I'm doing event photography or I'm doing weddings and things like that. I mostly use my Lightroom for editing pictures like that. But when I'm starting to feel a bit more creative, I start to venture into Photoshop, where I know I can do a whole lot more adjustments in Photoshop that I can't do in Lightroom. Because like for instance, I have a friend, Moses, who specializes currently now in high-end skin retouching. So he does a whole lot of his editing in Photoshop. So currently, personally, I don't have the time to be sitting in Photoshop and editing one picture at a time. Because for instance, like editing pictures in Photoshop can take you like half an hour to edit one picture. So imagine now if you have like 60 to 100 pictures to edit from an event, you are not going to finish. You're going to end up spending like a whole week editing one client's work when you have multiple clients' work that you need to get edited. So that's why I prefer using Lightroom Classic. And then I also do have Lightroom CC, which is Adobe's new online-based editing software, which allows you to have, like, I can have my photos on my computer and I can have them on my phone or on my tablet or any other computer that I'm using that I can access the internet on. Then I can just edit something on my phone and then finish the edit on my computer or finish it on another computer. That's what I love about Lightroom CC. So yeah, that is the software that I use for editing pictures. I don't know what softwares do you guys use for editing pictures. If you guys do have any suggestions of softwares that people can use for editing their pictures, please leave a comment below suggesting what softwares do you use for editing your pictures besides Photoshop and Lightroom. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, please leave a comment if you want to say anything, you have any advice, anything that you want to add to this video that I didn't add to this video, or if you would like any more advice from me, you can leave a comment below. Please subscribe and please turn on post notifications to catch more videos like this, guys. Thank you very much. And I just also like to have just say thank you very much to all of you guys for for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I've just reached 1,000K subscribers. I'm very appreciative for everybody who subscribed to my channel, guys. Thank you very much. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until then, this has been Fenza with the Pro View. Catch you.